What do you do if you have a tenant that isn't paying? I'm going to give you my exact advice and what I do. Now, I did a video a couple months ago that caught a lot of attention that talked about how treating landlording as a business and taking all the emotions out of it is the way to do it. It was great advice. I got a lot of blowback. That's okay. I still advocate that. So you have to have a business approach to being a landlord. The minute you become friends or become friendly, you can kind of skimp out on the parameters and rules you put in place. You can be friendly, don't mistake that, but this is business. So you have a tenant that doesn't pay. Number one, you are going to enforce the covenants of the lease, which means it's due on the 1st, it's late after the 5th. We have a rolling late fee, 5% if it's after the 5th, 10% if it's after the 10th, 15% if it's after the 15th. That's where we stop. That's a very big penalty, 15%. Somebody is a late pay, you need to post the notice on the 6th day, which means there's a 3-day notice to vacate or pay. It goes on their door. Here's the kicker. You always will call them first. Don't post it, in my advice, you don't post something on their door without calling them first. Nobody wants to come home to a notice on their door. It's embarrassing. The neighbors see all of the things that go into it. So you want to call them and say, ask what's going on. Is everything okay? They need to understand that you do charge a late fee if it's received after the 5th. Again, it's enforcement of the rules that are established right up front. If you see that video I did, I'll say exactly what I tell the tenants, how I'm not a good landlord, but I want to abide by the lease agreement and the covenants within. So communicate with them through the process. But if they call you and say, hey, I'm going to be late, and here's why, you still impose the late, it's just part of the agreement. You still impose the late fee. But even if they call you and tell you that they're going to pay you, you still give them the notice on the 6th. That's the big takeaway I want to share today. What happens is that you'll talk to the tenant and they'll discuss their situation and promise to pay, and so you don't do anything at that point, and ultimately you're not enforcing your own agreement, so subconsciously they realize right up front there's a little bit of wiggle room there. But now that promise to pay this Friday turns into next Friday and potentially more, now you've lost a couple weeks. If you post the notice on the 6th, let them know you're posting it. Even let them know that while you're communicating, everything, you're going to work with them. You want them to pay. You don't want them to not be in the property. They do have to pay the late fees by the lease. But ultimately, don't lose the ground. So you want to use the communication channel. You want to just be as awesome as you'd want someone being awesome to you. We always try to treat people with respect the way we want to be treated. But at the same time, there's the business, the legal, the protocol that you have to adhere to. Parallel tracks, communicating, but also not letting time go by is my best advice for landlording. When you are communicating, you have a friendly relationship, but there's also the clock is ticking with the potential eviction. They will act a lot quicker than if you back off when they give you the promise to pay. That's my best advice for landlording. Hopefully you can work it out. Most cases, we can work through it because we treat people with respect. If you can't pay, you can't stay. It's nothing that's overcomplicated. What can we do to work with you? We'll take payment plans. We'll work with people. But at the end of the day, that's pretty simple. Just don't let time lapse on the legal process.